Hey guys, it's Ruth with Flat Abs Fitness, and right now I just want to take a little bit of your time and let you know more about me and where I come from and my personal journey. When my husband and I found out that we were pregnant, we were super surprised and a little bit scared at the time. I just thought it was going to be so easy to turn into that happy fitness mom, seeing those posts that I would during my pregnancy. I thought, I got this. It's gonna be good, it's gonna be easy, I'm gonna be able to bounce right back. And that really was what I thought would happen to me. I actually ended up having a pretty traumatic birth of my daughter. I ended up having an emergency C-section, which I did not plan on. And so the beginning of my postpartum journey really started with trying to figure out how to be a new mom and to cope with this new body and recover from surgery all at the same time, and I was pretty overwhelmed. I ended up having 40 pounds of extra weight after I had my daughter, which I didn't think was gonna happen either. And I remember, I would wake up and take care of this beautiful baby and then look in the mirror and see something so ugly. Look at my own reflection and not know who it was. I would find body fat. I would tell people, I didn't know you could have, that extra body fat and that extra skin, on your back and on the back of your arms and on your thighs. And, I, for some reason, thought with my pregnancy, you get a belly, you have the baby and it goes away. But I had this extra body fat everywhere. There was one night after I had put my daughter to bed, and I remember it was, so casual. I was just scrolling on my Instagram looking at, what was there on my feed, and there was someone who had had a baby around the same time that I had, and she had posted just a selfie of what she looked like, and she looked so good. In my head I thought, and I just broke down. I remember I was just collapsed, crumbled up in my bathroom on the ground, just crying. And I just couldn't figure out why it was so hard for me and why I felt like I was failing. I was just sitting there breaking down and crying, and I remember realizing that I had so many negative thoughts and I had so many things in my way, and even beyond that, issues just with myself and with how I was thinking in my mentality at that time. And I started putting some pieces together, and I realized that a lot of things that I was thinking and that I was going through weren't normal, and they weren't happy, and they were affecting me so negatively that I was able to go in and talk to my doctor and realize that I was going through some postpartum depression. And that was huge for me to realize, because it put a lot of things in perspective for me and in my personal challenges. And so that moment was really one of the moments that I decided that I wanted to, kind of beat it and be better. I knew that something had to change. Something had to change. I couldn't be this, negative person that was walking around with 40 extra pounds on me, being sad about it and not willing to do anything about it. I knew that I had to step up and make those changes and figure out how I could get out of this rut. And I knew that I wanted to start doing things that were gonna make me happy and make me more positive and stronger. A lot of the things that I was, thought that I had to do, they weren't working. And so, it was so frustrating for me. I thought, I'm really trying at this, and I keep failing, and I didn't know why. And so I realized, I have to go back to the basics and the fundamentals of nutrition. And I started doing my own research, and I started, implementing new things and new meal prepping, that I hadn't been doing before, and really figuring out what was working out for me. A lot of the knowledge that I had and that I had used in the past was really outdated. And what, those big diets and those meal plans, that people go on the internet and talk about, I thought, it will work for me, and it wasn't working for me. So I had to figure out my own way. And one of the things that was really, really helpful for me was realizing how to do my own meal prepping. And it was funny because I always thought that it was going to be, so hard. I would feel guilty about putting a lot of time into these things. I thought it would take away from my family and from my daughter. But after I started doing it, I realized that it was actually helping so much, keeping me on track. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions that I believed for so long, and especially during this time, was that I had to go to the gym for hours and spend all that time, doing cardio, being on the treadmill. I thought that was the only way that I could lose that 40 pounds, that body fat, everything that I, wanted to change about myself. And it was so daunting to me. And looking back, I knew that it wasn't the best thing for me. I knew I didn't have that kind of time, and so I had to figure out another way that I could be more effective and more precise with my workouts. And that's how I found HIIT, the high intensity interval training, and that was huge for me. And I realized, if I have 15 minutes a day, I have that time, I know I could do that, my baby's sleeping, I can go and do these workouts. And I started seeing those results, finally. And from there, when I really truly started seeing those results and they were consistent, and I felt supported and I had a good mentality, it was really only a few months that I made that huge progress, dropping that extra weight, 40 pounds. I remember we were at the gym, my husband was sitting next to me, and I got on the scale. I kind of avoided the scale for a long time in my journey, but that day I was like, you know what, I just want to see where we're at. I felt good about it, and I got on the scale, and it's like emotional even to think about, but I saw a number that I hadn't seen since before I was pregnant even. I weighed less now than I did even before I was pregnant, and not only that, but I knew that I felt strong again, and I felt like confident again in my own body. And for some reason, seeing that number and realizing that I had lost 40 pounds, it was so empowering to me. And I couldn't believe that I had done it, because I remember I had felt failure so many times. I had felt like it was impossible for me, that it was totally out of my reach. And so that was just kind of that moment of clarity. I was like, I did it. I couldn't believe it. It was real. In that moment, for me, that was a symbolism. I had done it. I had gone all the way, meeting those goals that I had wanted. And even though it was really, scary and intimidating to talk about all those failures, at the same time, I knew that I had to step up and I had to share my story, because I knew that people could relate to it. And it really just started, person by person reaching out to me and asking me questions, and I would talk to them, and we would go through exercises and nutrition, and they would start telling me that they were seeing their own results as well. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is, not only just working for me, but for other people, other moms, my friends and my family and those closest to me, they were seeing their own results as well. And I think that was the trigger for me that made me realize that I needed to share this with other people. If I could do this, going from a place that I never thought that I could, then I realized that this can work for other people too. And I know how it feels to be at that low and to feel like you can't break through. So for me, figuring this out and going on this journey, I knew I had to share it with other people, because I didn't want people to feel like how I used to. From there, I got a coach, and I started taking personal training courses and working on that, and really soaking up all of the education and the knowledge that I could to perfect the system that I already knew was effective. And learning those nutritional principles, and those HIIT exercises, those things that are really going to get you results fast, are what I wanted to just continue to learn more about and just really perfect. And you guys, I really wanted to spread this message to as many people as possible and change and impact as many lives as possible. So I teamed up with Flat Abs Fitness, and we made my 15-day challenge. And I'm just so excited about this. I lost 40 pounds personally. I had to figure it out. I went through all those highs and lows that I told you about on my journey, but I did it. And I know that if I can do this, you can go through this too, and you can have those same results and achieve that body that you want. And you're not only going to gain, those flat abs or those chiseled arms or whatever your goal is, but you're going to achieve an inner transformation as well. And that's something that I believe so passionately about. I'm so much happier. I have so much more energy now, and I have that self-confidence again that I had been searching for so long, that I thought was unattainable. I have it. And I know that if I can do this, you can do this too. And that's why I'm so excited to have you on our challenge, and I can't wait to see what you do with it.